The 2021 Cheltenham Festival is finally on the horizon. We can almost touch it. And I'm thrilled to be joined by Paul Ferguson, author of the Weatherbys Cheltenham Festival Betting Guide, now in its 22nd year, all told. Paul, I hope you're well. A happy man. Now it's finally gone to print and out there in the public domain. Let's wind the clock back a little bit first and foremost, though. Just generally speaking, how have you adapted this book in your 3 years at the helm, and sort of what can people expect from it if they're getting it for the first time this year?
Well, as we all know, it was always based first and foremost around the trends and statistics of the festival. But since I took over, as you say, 3 years ago, the idea was to try and bring maybe a bit of continuity between Jumpers to Follow and the Cheltenham Festival Betting Guide, the two publications that I write. So in amongst the last couple of years, there's been Spring Horses to Follow in the same format as Jumpers to Follow, and there's a lot more based around the horses themselves, which obviously creates a lot more work for me at the last minute, filling in the blanks, but in each race touching specifically on the horses. And we've got a leading contenders section which is set up almost like a race card format of the main players in each race. At the time we went to print. In addition to that, obviously there's some excellent editorial contributions from yourself and Ben at Sport and Life, as well as Don McLean, who takes an in-depth look at the Irish angle. Rory Delaghi takes on the banker or bust test. We've got Andy Gibson in there who writes about speed on the clock, and another really good feature. And this year for the first time, we've got Jeff Stafford in there with a pedigree piece.
Sounds absolutely packed with really good content from start to finish. I must ask, when the book was going to print, did you have a standout bet that you had in mind after the book had gone to print?
Actually my anti-post portfolio was looking a bit small this year. I backed Shishkin at the start of the year. I think when I was in the office this time last year, I think I said before the Supreme I was more excited about him for the Arkle next year. Obviously, I wasn't anticipating that race to be as strong as it looks now. I was thinking it might be a bit of a penalty kick, which it doesn't likely to be the case. But I've nailed my colours to his mast early on before the season started. I backed Monkfish prior to his second win over fences at Christmas. And I think of the short price ones, if anyone's prepared to back a short price horse, I think he's the one who's most rock solid for me.
It's brilliant, isn't he?
Yeah, I think at the Dublin Racing Festival, of all the horses, performance-wise, I just thought he was top class, coming back from 3 miles to 2 miles 5. Didn't bother him at all. I thought last year he looked an out-and-out stayer over hurdles, and somehow he seems to have got an injection of pace. And obviously, it's just maturity as he's gone over fences and improved with racing. And looking at the size of him, looking at the videos that Fran done with him earlier in the week, you can see why.
Talking of pace and versus stamina, one race that did catch my eye is the Ballymore Novices Hurdle, because what this brings together, it brings together future sort of champion hurdle horses, doesn't it? But also like real big strapping future chasers, such as Brave Man's Game for Paul Nicholls. This looks like a bit of a Brave Man's Game against a strong Irish bunch here. Which sort of side of the fence do you sit on there?
I totally agree with you. It's definitely, I'd say it was the pick of the 3 novice hurdles, and you wrote a good piece about that yourself, as Paul doesn't tend to have many runners in the race. He's obviously gone close with Rock on Ruby and Denman, of course. But despite him having the looming statistic of the shallow hurdle winner hanging around his neck, it's like I think it's 0 from 17 now, winners who've attempted to win the Ballymore. I'd be leaning his way. I think his form's a little bit more rock solid. Say that early on in the season, obviously bumped into Soaring Glory over 2 miles, so he's not short of pace. He won over 2-1 on decent ground at Exeter against the horse I think is declared to run on Saturday, Runswick Bay. He came out and won since then. He stepped up to 2.5, and again I thought that was a really strong race. S Perfecto's horse I like, came out and run really well off a handicap mark of 133 last weekend. So I just think there's an overall solid look to his form. As the Irish pair, I actually think Bob Ollinger is the main danger.
I like him.
I'm quite keen to take the favourites on. I think both Bob Ollinger and Brave Man's Game look to have a bit more pace. And I just wasn't overly sold with Gary at the Messard Zenseal, at Leopardstown. I'd say Bob Ollinger, he's got the ideal profile really. If you're going on the trends, he's a point-to-point winner, a bumper winner, and a Grade 1 hurdle winner already. So he ticks all the boxes in that respect. So if you follow him from the guide, you'd be siding with him. And such was the impression that he made on me in his point-to-point and his bumper. He was actually the first horse I wrote about and jumped to follow this year. But so I'd have it between the two. I know the 4-1's drying up at the moment, but last week when we went to print, when he was around 9-2, 4-1, I thought Braveman's game was absolutely bomb-proof as an each-way bet.
There you go. The trends are very much a guide, but don't necessarily.
Don't hang your hat on them.
Exactly.
No, that's what I've said all along since taking over the book. To be honest, it's like I was never from a stats and trends background really. I was more from the horse form.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the emphasis of bringing them both together and things. Obviously, the stats are there, and one thing I would say this year, there's lots of references as always in the book to previous festival form, and a lot of that, as well as form on the course itself, hinges around the preliminaries, which it'll be a totally different experience this year. So horses who might get worked up and things, and the younger horses certainly for the champion bumper and stuff, things like the paddock and going to post, it's probably not going to be as big an issue for those. And maybe that's something to think about with Jacques and Paul Swab. People throw that as a negative that he's never been to the festival before, but from a preliminary side of things, he's just going to there's not going to be any issue, and it's just basically he's never run that track before.
Now we've had the unveiling of the weights this week, Paul, and a horse that I know that you're quite keen on and have been for a little while is Imperial Alcazar, who won the Pertemps qualifier. Could he be the one to give Fergal O'Brien that breakthrough festival winner?
Yeah, I think he goes there with every chance. His price is shortening all the time, to be honest. Didn't realise he's just going to favourite this morning. I backed him as soon as he won after he'd won at Warwick. Been keen on him all season. He was one of my horses to follow, in jumper to follow. It's actually, he was intended to go novice chasing after he ran in the old fixed bush hurdle, but things didn't materialise. He was declared to run one day at Toxter and had to miss the race for one reason. So I think as the season went on, he sort of by accident ended up, he thought, go down the Pertemps route. The race fell apart a little bit, I thought, at Warwick, but you couldn't really fail to be impressed with the way he won. And the Pertemps, which was once a race for battle hardened handicappers, it's now kind of going alongside the other handicap hurdles in that you want the younger, unexposed type, certainly the one not too exposed over 3 miles, and he fits the profile, and I think he'll go really well.
Yeah, I'd be slightly interested still in Come On Teddy, who was behind him that day at Warwick. I thought still ran an okay race. He's going to be £7 or £8 better off with the winner. Certainly another one to keep an eye on in the same race. Obviously, in this book, the Aintree Grand National Festival's covered as well, isn't it, these days? And a meeting close to you, geographically and emotionally, no doubt. But have you had a bet in the National itself yet?
I have actually, which is a rarity for me. I don't often tend to get involved, I suppose. But last year, I was keen on Burrows Saint. The only thing I was concerned about was the fact he was only 7 last year. You know, the statistics aren't very good for those horses. But yeah, ever since he won the Irish National, I thought he looked the ideal type for Aintree. I must say, I've been slightly disappointed with his form this year. I could forgive him his hurdle runs. He looked like he needed the first time when he ran at Goran in the Galmoy hurdle. I thought the ground was absolutely desperate. So again, I'd be keen enough to put a line through that. But I'd ideally like to have seen him gone and won the Bobby Joe last week. But I thought he travelled well. And listening to the interviews with Willie afterwards, he didn't seem perturbed in any way. So I assume everything has been geared towards Aintree. So yeah, I've pinned myself to him early on, and I'm not going to desert him now.
Yeah, you won't be alone in supporting Burrows Saint for the Randox Health Grand National, I wouldn't have thought. Well, thanks for sparing a few minutes for us today, Paul. It's always great to get your take. And we're still, if you are still looking for that extra edge heading towards Cheltenham, then I'd definitely urge you to grab a copy. And as an added boost, you can get £4 off the book or the digital version through Sporting Life. All you need to do is to apply the promo code Festival21. That's Festival21 when you're checking out. So get over to bettrendsshop.co.uk and you'll see all the links you need right there. So thanks again, Paul. And here's to a few more festival winners with the Weatherbys Cheltenham Festival Betting Guide.